Good morning and welcome to this webinar about building your online presence. Thank you for joining Steve and I on this chilly Tuesday morning. We hope you find this seminar really useful. I'm Anne-Marie Leach. I'm the head of membership at GS1 UK. So GS1 UK, for those of you that don't know, provide our members with the unique GTINs, and GTINs are the number that you find beneath the barcode. These GTINs enable brands such as yourselves to trade in-store and online. And after you finish this meeting, this webinar, you'll understand they do a lot more than that as well. GS1 UK have around 59,000 members, and the majority of those are SMEs who are at the start of their business growth journey, looking to grow their business and really build brand awareness. So we aim to support our members to get it right first time and avoid any costly mistakes that may happen by doing things incorrectly. So we've collaborated with digital marketing specialists Push Group, who are a large digital agency based in London. Steve, who you'll meet shortly, is going to guide you through the sales funnel, starting with building your brand awareness online through tools such as Google and social media platforms. And spoiler alert, your GS1 GTIN can help you to increase your online visibility as well. So the webinar will be around an hour. If you do have any questions, please post those in the Q&A and we'll be including those at the end. So thank you and enjoy. Over to you, Steve.
Thanks so much, Anne-Marie, and good morning to you all. It is very, very chilly, I'm Steve Hyde. I'm from Push Group. Anne-Marie has already introduced you to GS1. So I'm going to start off by looking in this first session how you get more out of Google. Now, we've been working in this industry for 15 years, so and Google has always been a centerpiece of what we've done. Let's just put it into context from point of view of overall marketing. So many of you know that digital marketing is now the biggest part of the overall marketing pie. In the UK, for every pound that is spent on advertising, 70 pence is spent on digital. And really that's been dominated by a number of different platforms, but primarily Google. And I think everyone knows that. And there's lots of what we want to do here. There's lots of noise around digital marketing, lots of different aspects. People talk to you about content search, social, website, conversion rate optimizations. We want to keep this really simple because it is actually simple and a lot of people overcomplicate it unnecessarily. So all of these things on the right are all elements of digital, and specifically within search, you have two aspects that I'm going to talk about: PPC, or paid ads or sponsored ads, and SEO, which is search engine optimization. And I'm going to give you some insight into where you should put your focus if you're trying to get more people from search. So if we start off with paid search, the first thing to say is don't just think of it. It's not just Google. It also includes a large platform in Microsoft, which goes on to lots of other platforms that you may not be aware of. So Google is obviously the major player, but Microsoft is also in play for search ads. And Google Shopping, what it does, Google Shopping campaigns read a product feed directly from your website. So the information in your feed determines what keyword searches you will appear for. For things like generic keyword searches, Google also decides what products will show for particular keywords. And for product categories that perform well, you can dominate the page with text ads too. So you can be in a situation, if you get this right, where you're really dominant on the page. 5% of shopping searches result in a click to the shopping tab on Google. So it's very significant, not to be underplayed, and it's important that you try and work how to get these feeds working well on Google. And Anne-Marie's mentioned that adding a GTIN to your online listing can increase your impressions by 40%. That's the amount of people that see your ad, or sort of see your position on Google, and conversions. Now that information's directly from Google. So this is the Google as a source here. So make sure that you pay attention to that. And what we wanted to do is to try and show you some of the features of Google that can really help you in particular advertising. So discovery ads introduce new audiences to your brand via YouTube and Gmail. So they're a really good thing. If you've not come across discovery ads, they're well worth checking out. Display select campaigns allow you to determine your ad based on website content. They're very, very good at uncovering new keywords and can often outperform search campaigns. So be aware of DSA. And so looking at dynamic search ads here, DSA, this is an example of a jewelry retailer we work with that led to a 22% increase in revenue. So these are good examples of real things. And the other bars you can see that you've got revenue and ROAS. So ROAS is return on advertising spend. You can see that before and after we introduced dynamic search ads. Key tactics you can use that you should be aware of in PPC campaigns on Google. So smart display is number one. In-market audiences, very important. So smart display, leverage all of Google's massive data to target audience most likely to convert. In-market audiences identify people whose search behavior indicates that they're in the market for a particular business or software. So, for example, I'm a snowboarder. I might be looking, I might be able to pick up from, for example, that I'm looking to go on a snowboarding holiday, looking at my behavior online, and then I could start to get marketed relevant snowboard related products, whether it be gloves or hats or whatever. So that's an example of an in-market audience. And then customer affinity audiences, where you're able to build a list of sites which can include your competitors whose visitors you would like to target. So that's customer affinity audiences. YouTube, many people don't even realize that YouTube is part of Google, but it's the second biggest search engine in the world. And YouTube presents one of the cheapest forms of traffic. So you can target audiences by keywords, channel, topic, and audience. So all of those areas, very successful. And they have a thing called a bumper machine, which is a beta, allows us to take video content that you produce for YouTube and easily and instantly create 6-second ads with it. Video advertising a lot easier than people think. People are often reluctant to engage, but can be done very well. So when you think of all of Google's networks and all that are used, what we would say is the things that absolutely look the best are discovery and P, in terms of actually generating result. Discovery and PMAX are really, really strong at performing. So PMAX, discovery, are the best audience networks for modeling, for businesses like yours. It's frozen, okay. Just moving this around, so bear with me. Key tactics we use overall to achieve results in PPC for Google. So try and if you're not doing these, be aware. So smart bidding, it allows us to spend money on audience most likely to convert using artificial intelligence to read signals, obvious signals like gender, age, location, device, time of day, and so on, and previous search behavior. Dynamic search ads I've already mentioned, and responsive ads as well. Let's talk now about SEO. So SEO is search engine optimization, and it's often misunderstood. I'm going to try and give you some examples of how to make it work. So first of all, 50% of searches happen on a mobile. So be aware that when you're optimizing, you're trying to optimize for mobile. 65% plus of purchasing intent keyword traffic. So I've put an example here, slip-free shoes. You might put in something like buy slip-free shoes. 65% goes through PPC and much more through and significant through SEO. And then all keyword traffic goes through SEO, so 96%. With search engine optimization, there's over 200 different ranking factors to consider. So you've got things like domain authority, URL length, number of incoming links. It can be a minefield if you don't know what you're doing. And it's important to try and get a grip of it. I'm going to try and explain the different priorities. So when you look at desktop experience, you've got, when we're talking about SEO, you have the green area here, which is paid search. So that's the paid or sponsored ad. and the natural search or SEO or search, organic search is highlighted in red here. So we're just giving you some examples so everyone's really clear about what we're talking about. I looked at in here on a desktop. So that tends to be the viewable area. So you can see a substantial amount of space taken up by both PPC, paid search, and the natural search SEO. On mobile, it's different. Mobile is much more dominated by paid search. So just be aware of your particular brand and the experience you're having, whether it's desktop or mobile. And you can see again, the viewable area on mobile, heavily dominated by ads. So in a mobile first world, SEO is an increasingly competitive space. So to compete in this competitive space, websites really need to be 1, mobile friendly, 2, quick to adapt, 3, they need to have a clean backlink profile, 4, they need to have broad relevancy, 5, need to be able to answer questions, 6, they need to be integrated with your overall marketing, 7, they need to be integrated with search. So key activities in any SEO program of work would include looking at authority, optimization, and technical aspects. By the way, all of these charts and pages are going to be available. So I know I'm going through this at quite a pace, but there's a lot to try and get across. So in authority, key tactics you're looking at are PR, influencer campaigns, events and press releases. In optimization, you look at content creation, on-site optimization of pages to be keyword relevant and rich. All content should be user first, guided by search insight. And finally, on technical, the technical audit is really important to discover if there are any accessibility issues for search engines. Key focuses and areas that we look at, things like site speed, linking profile, redirects, and so on. So SEO also, it doesn't just stand in isolation, it helps other channels in the business. So if you look at it like this, it can have an impact on social, PR, your website itself, PPC, offline media, display, and so on. So for example, SEO helps PPC and creates a more unified experience, helps site speed, all of these different things that have an impact on how SEO impacts on PPC. Across an organization, SEO assists requires assistance. So there's technical assistance, amplification, optimization, all of these things come into how an SEO program gets put together. And these are some of the things that we look at on a technical checklist, which would encourage all of you to do. So mobile optimization, linking and redirects, constructing compliance, URL structure, and so on. It's quite dry, this concept, but it's important that we get ahead of this on search engine optimization. So I've covered PPC and SEO in about 13 minutes. I want to spend the rest of the time now looking at real examples for all of you about which are the most effective routes to growing e-commerce. So we'll look at Google, Amazon, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And then we will also run a second webinar where we really get stuck into how you do that. So in spite of what looks like a new marketing landscape, the fundamentals of business and marketing remain the same. You've got to, whatever your product is, I'll just pick one up randomly here. This is a set of glasses. It's some of those blue screen glasses. There you go, with a barcode on them. Bought these recently from Amazon. So, but the fundamentals remain the same for products, and that is you've got to get people to take notice. So call that acquisition. Second, you've got to get them to do something. So that's what we call conversion. And thirdly, you potentially got to get them to come back. So I might take these glasses and think I need more, or I need to buy them for my kids, and so on. So, when you think of all the different marketing acronyms out there, all of the noise out there, just stay focused. How are you going to get people to your site? How are you going to get them to convert? And how are you going to get them to come back and buy more? So those are the areas that we focus on. And within that, now this looks complex, but it's actually very simple. There's actually only 2 metrics that affect your cost per sale. Now, if anyone needs access to this, we can give access. It's a calculator, and broadly speaking, what it does is it allows you to plug in your target cost per lead sale. Whether it's £2, 50 pence, or £100, you plug in here, and you put in your current cost per click, and what it's able to do to see how you can go about driving more traffic at a relevant cost to your site. The key thing is that the conversion rate is so important. So many people spend time trying to drive traffic and they don't spend enough time on the conversion rate. So just to be clear, there's two metrics that affect your cost per sale. The first one is your cost per click, and the second one is your conversion rate. And this tool is available for people to use if anyone wants to look at it, to try and play around and think about how they get better people to their site. Now, in the past, so we've been going for 15 years, 7 or 8 years ago, all our people did was look at Google campaigns. That's where the focus was. Now, they are looking at Google. They're looking at Instagram. They're looking at TikTok. They're looking at Amazon. They're looking at YouTube. They're looking at Snapchat. They're looking at Pinterest. They're looking at so many different campaigns. And it's a bit of a minefield out there. But what I want to try and do is understand again, where should you be focusing your attention by channel? And to some extent, it does depend on the nature of your business. But importantly, when you think of the conversion funnel or whatever, the awareness funnel, one thing that we see is that people that really do nurture their leads through the entire funnel see a much better overall result. Those that take the time to nurture and grow their customer relationships, starting off with awareness and interest, see a 50% more sales at a 33% lower cost. Let me explain that. If you just focus on all your marketing budgets on Google search and shopping and Amazon, if you just do that, if that's all where your money goes, what happens is that's a much more expensive area to be able to generate your conversions, to generate your clients. If you take a slightly more long-term view of generating interest, what we call up the funnel, so in YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Google Display, Pinterest, and many others, if you start to focus there and develop a plan, you do get an overall lower cost per conversion. That's the magic in trying to get to this. And that what we see is a lot of people, they'll try just focusing on the high intention, action focused areas. So like the people that go into Google shopping, if I just have a campaign around this, these are blue screen glasses as an example, that could be very costly. But if I'm building up and driving awareness through other channels, ultimately that will drive down my cost per acquisition. So businesses that do use more channels, so compared to say just using Google, they'll see a 250% increase on purchase and engagement rates. So really strong improvement. So we see that we've gone from an example where we've had thousands of clients and most of them just focused on Google to being way more across the board now. So virtually all the people we work with are multi-channel. And this is an example. This is from a business some of you may have seen on Dragon's Den, a men's beard grooming brand. Examples there, increasing in revenue from Google Ads, 124% up, and increasing revenue again from Bing, so that's Microsoft, 203% up in 1 year. This is an example of an e-commerce jewelry brand. So in this case, we were able to use a multi-channel approach to reduce their overall cost per lead. So, and by doing that and using a thing called retargeting, got a 400% improvement in their return on advertising spend. Here's some more examples. I'm trying to give you as many examples as possible. So this is a heating brand, e-commerce business. So we tested smart bidding, I mentioned that earlier, across shopping and search, and we managed to get an increase in conversion rates year on year of over 50%. This is a hearing app. So again, in this case, we use smart bidding and dynamic ads. We had other campaigns running on Facebook and so on. Again, all the time, this multi-channel approach really works. This is a gifting business. So again, that was multi-platform across all of those. Again, you can see the importance of smart bidding coming through here. And we also used to showcase ads to target at the start of their journeys. So that's where you think that you're higher up the funnel. Again, a sofa business, higher margins accrues here by increasing in sales revenues. Again, smart bidding was the big player here. And this is a drinks brand where we've managed to decrease their cost per acquisition by 18% and increase conversions by 130%. So that's a quick overview of some of the results that we've seen. I want to talk now about Amazon, because I know so many of you will be playing on Amazon. And remember, 40% of sales on Amazon are preceded by a sponsored click. Think back where we were with Amazon over, say, 7 years ago. It was an insignificant part of their business, this sponsored advertising. Amazon now are at a point where there's more spent on advertising on their platform. I heard this stat the other day. There's more spent on advertising on Amazon than the whole of the global newspaper industry. That's how big they are as an advertising player. And yet there's still only a small share of the digital advertising market, but they're enormous. It's going to get bigger. Working the Amazon ads is going to be more and more important, and knowing how to do that. So it's a sales engine, not a search engine. And the aim of the game is to increase your sales rank by boosting organic rankings, as you can see here. Importantly, when you launch a product on Amazon, you need to invest early to see the results further down the line. There's a bit of a timing element here with Amazon. You can see spend is high at the start, but time taken also follows this line. You need a good listing as well to convert the traffic into sales and better move through this cycle as you start to see sales ramp up and you're hopefully dropping your overall spend. Key tactics to use in Amazon: automatic sponsored product campaigns, which identify your winning keywords using automation. Manual campaigns, that's where we look at taking performing keywords and identify and create campaigns to focus on driving more volume from them. And then structure, it's very important to separate out products and consider the differences in margins. You don't just have one, you don't just lump everything into one campaign. You're really thinking about where you're making your money, building out your campaign structure. So this is an example of a food brand here where we use auto and manual sponsored product campaigns, and we saw a 264% increase in revenue growth. We used automated bidding and got a 22% increase in return on advertising spend. And we use separate targeting for top performing products. And what that allowed us to do is to reduce their cost per acquisition by 19%. Another example of something called Sponsored Brands Video. This is a business we work with where we saw a much higher click-through rate, so over 135% people more clicking through, more efficient performance versus product collection, and very successful customer retention, people coming back to buy. Another brand in the alcohol sector called Pirates Grog Rum. We saw a lot more engagement here through sponsored products. Again, this is a sponsored brand video, more efficient performance in sponsored products, much better cost control. So that's the brand there. What we saw here was 72% of people that were ordering completely new to the brand, and we saw a 40% increase in branded campaign return on advertising spend. So very, very strong. Also examples of luxury skincare, higher conversions drivers through sponsored products, better cost control, and much more success. So really can work very well across sectors. This is an example here of the skincare brand, and you can see, I'll draw your attention onto the right-hand side to the increase in branded campaign return on advertising spend, so that you can by getting this right, you can massively improve your return on investment. And you can see there, got over 2.6 million impressions. So that's Amazon. I've gone through that as an example to give you some key tactics there. Again, this is going to be recorded and sent to you. Meta, and by the way, welcome any questions. So put those questions, fire them up as we're going along, and we'll answer them towards the end. Let's talk about Meta, so Facebook and Instagram as a source. So overall, what we've seen across the business is Facebook. So Meta's cost per clicks are the highest they've ever been. They've been very significant. We've seen this trend continue throughout the year, and this is across thousands of campaigns. We've seen a big increase compared to where we were perhaps over a year and a half ago. So higher cost per clicks impacting the number of sessions that digital marketing channels can drive to the site. So it has become more expensive to advertise in this field. And that's why it's very important to get your creative right. So first of all, getting your creative right has a huge impact on results. It's now more important than ever. Secondly, we've seen, along with many of you will know, the rise of TikTok. So TikTok now, getting your own creatives right for your own products. TikTok is now the fastest growing social media platform. In fact, they don't even consider themselves a social media platform. They consider themselves an entertainment platform. But we've seen a huge explosion across our customer base of people wishing to use TikTok, including businesses that think their audience aren't on there, which is quite surprising. So many of you wouldn't be aware of it as a brand, and I'll talk more about this in the second webinar. Thirdly, many of you have heard about the loss of signal due to the Apple iOS privacy update. So before the iOS privacy update came to place, Facebook had a load of data that they could depend on. And now that's not so much the case. The campaign structures and targeting used to be much more complex and granular. But now we're in a different world. We need to target broad data. We need more first-party data creatives in your targeting. And the final point there is that creative leads to customer stickiness. So getting good creatives together allows us to position creative angles and hooks, not only improve new customer acquisition, but also get much better long-term retention too. So TikTok I talked about briefly. I'm going to show you just a couple of charts to show why this is important to consider. So don't just dismiss TikTok. Why TikTok? Why now? Okay, fast growth is overtaking Google as the most visited domain in 2021. 5 years since its launch in 2016. That's incredible. 40% of Gen Z prefer searching on TikTok over Instagram and Google. So that's enormous. Secondly, it's leveling the playing field. It's overtaking Facebook in influencer marketing spend in this year, and it's projected to overtake YouTube by 24. So, it's considered a major player now. It's cheaper advertising costs. So we've got examples where we've been working this year with brands, and we've been working on campaigns that brands have been investing in Meta, so Facebook and Instagram, and we then tried something out on TikTok, and we've halved their cost per click. So they've piled a lot of their advertising into TikTok. So it's been incredible. The rise of, I've been in this for 15 years, but the rise of TikTok is phenomenal. And it has the future generation's attention. So 60% of TikTok users are Gen Zs, and 46 between the age of 13 and 19. So it's the future very much. But what they don't show at the moment at TikTok, they're not sharing, but we kind of have the real sense of this. But the age range, people of older generations are going into TikTok at a much faster rate than we expect. So many of you may well be on TikTok. I'd certainly encourage you to have a look at it. You'd be surprised at how that's growing. And I've shown you an example here. This is looking at the UK searches. This gives you some context of just how quickly TikTok has risen. Now, clearly it rose dramatically in the pandemic, but it's not gone away. It's still there. It's still very strong. Pinterest, I'll talk briefly about. It's an interesting platform to consider. Snapchat as well is well worth considering. And I'm going to talk lots more when we have the second webinar to talk about these particular programs. We'll actually show you how you can build campaigns on TikTok, Pinterest, and Snapchat. We'll also talk in the final webinar a lot more about email marketing, how if you're getting people to your site using these different channels, how email marketing can work for you to drive more return out of your overall investment. So this is the second webinar we're going to be running in February, looking at social media, really destroying some of the myths around social media and looking at proven tactics for success. We'll also look at which ones are the leading players, and we'll give you examples by different product categories, and we'll look at content that converts. So that's me done now. I'm very open to taking any questions. If people have got questions, they can be as specific as you like. And if anyone needs my contact details as well, it's Steve Hyde, steve@pushgroup.co.uk, and our website is left up there. So I'm going to exit presentation mode and join you also. If anyone's got any questions, you can fire away.
Steve, we do have a couple of questions in the chats already. So Natalia has said, re Google Ads, do you suggest to bid on both brand name and keywords?
Right, good question. So general answer is yes. Many campaigns we work on would have a brand name ad included. It does depend a little bit on the nature of the brand or on what it is, but the general answer is yes. But if who was it from? Did you say Natalie?
Natalia.
Natalia. So if Natalia wants to contact me directly and let me know what the brand is or what the product is, we'll be more specific.
I can add to that as well. So
thanks, Alex.
In terms of bidding on your brand terms, it is important to protect your brand against competitors who may be bidding on your terms. So you don't want competitors stealing your traffic for people who are searching for your brand and then their ad is showing up before yours. So it is important to have brand terms in there, but we suggest having a separate campaign purely for branded terms and then a separate campaign more focused on awareness and acquiring new customers where you'd target generic terms relevant to your product and business.
Thanks, Alex. We've got another question in here that was submitted ahead of the webinar, so you may have answered it. But how much can you rely on organic content growing if the algorithm is not showing your content? Given that fact, how can you help the balance of measuring every aspect to decide what is working while implementing an idea to get results? It's quite a long question.
It is.
So, would you like me to repeat the first part for you?
Oh, I can see it as well, and in the chat. And given the fact, how can you keep the balance of measuring every aspect to decide what is working while implementing an idea, style, strategy to get results? How long is enough to say it is not working? Sounds like for this person that it's not working at the moment. That's the first thing from what the questions that are being asked. The overarching solution really would be to really look hard at your analytics and try and understand what's happening over time. You may need to take someone with an expert pair of eyes to do that for you, because your traffic going to your site will be increasing over time anyway, because as more people come online. I think that needs more investigation. There isn't a simple answer. There's a lot of different aspects to creating good organic content. It sounds like Malika should reach out and try and get some insight from people like ourselves. We're happy to do like a 20-minute, 30-minute consultation just to give some ideas, but just without knowing without knowing the brand and the type of market it's in. And of course, the algorithm, the Google algorithm, is constantly changing, and so it's not any one point in time you can't say whether what is being successful. What it sounds from the nature of the question that this is someone that's a bit exasperated with the fact that their organic content is not driving the right results for them.
Would it be fair to say that what you mentioned earlier in the webinar, paid ads are at the top? So if you want to know about the visibility of it, give it maybe a month or so to see whether that's working and your cost per acquisition is increasing. And if it is,
it's a good question. Broadly speaking, with paid ads, this is a generalization again, but it takes some time to get paid campaigns working and optimizing well. So for example, let's just say all of us on this call, let's just say we all formed a business and some crazy donor gave us £10 million to spend on the business, and they wanted to spend hundreds of thousands on the first month's marketing, and we all got together. My advice would be and we say this, so it doesn't matter whether someone's got £100,000 or £10,000 or £1,000, with paid advertising in particular, you're much more likely to get a return by about month 3 or 4 if you start expecting it. And we get this, good example, good question. We get this at Christmas. The amount of times this time of year we get people coming along with something they're trying to sell on Amazon or some widgets or some, we've done everything, and it comes in about November. It's like, it's not working. I need to spend on advertising. We say, look, we'd love to help. We'd love to take your money, but you can't turn things around that quickly. So when we're working with new products and new campaigns and new advertising campaigns on Google, as an example, we'll start spending quite modestly in the run-up to Christmas, say in September, and then move on to October. And by November, we've worked out what's working. So broadly speaking, there's a general rule of thumb is if you had, let's just say £10,000. If you had £10,000 to spend and you wanted to spend it all in month 1 on PPC, you'd be far better off just spending £2,000 in month 1, 3,000 in month 2, and then the rest, the 5,000 in month 3. The 5,000 in month 3 will get much better results than what you would have got from the 10,000 in month 1. That's a generalization, but we've seen that over 10, 15 years.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. I'm sure many people on this call were wishing they had £10,000 to invest in the first month.
You could take it the other way around. You could say you get £1,500 or whatever. But I think if you've got if you depending on the amounts that people are playing with, there are different tactics out there you can use on Google Shopping and indeed on Amazon for Amazon advertising as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks for that. We have another question from Anna. What would you say is the best method of advertising to the older demographic, so not Gen Z? We're a family business selling silver homeware and giftware, and find that our best audience is, of course, slightly older than Gen Z.
Okay. So it's silverware, was it?
Yes, silverware and giftware.
Okay. There are different. I think still in that area, people will be searching. So there will, on obviously, I'm presuming it's a product that's not sold on Amazon, but certainly on Google, there are search tactics there and product feeds that would work for that older audience. Just as a guide, the Microsoft audience is generally older. So the Microsoft search tool, which is called Bing, is much more successful than people appreciate. Often when you go and do a search and you're not on Google, you don't even know that you're actually searching on the Microsoft platform. And a lot of older audiences, particularly on desktops, will find that, for example, they won't change their browser. They'll go in, they'll search for something. They won't search on Google. It'll be a Microsoft search. So Microsoft Bing is a good platform to get to that older audience. I would say, if you're trying to build awareness of the brand, you've got opportunities on some of the other platforms like Meta as well. You can target people by age as well on all of the platforms that we've just talked about. You can make sure that your ads only appearing to a certain age group, age demographic. So those would be my tips. I don't know, Alex, if you have any other ideas.
Yeah, I was going to mention being especially for the older demographic and people with a bit more disposable income is one of the routes. But within Performance Max on Google, so the new version of shopping, you can target by age within asset groups, so you can test different age groups, see which one is working. On the Amazon side, you don't get the same targeting options, but I would suggest display on Amazon and then target those age groups as well. So there's a few options on both those channels.
And as just mentioned, that their biggest sales are through Amazon, so they sell through both FBA and our own sales channels on there. So that does.
I wonder if they're actually, Anna's actually advertising on Amazon and how well that's being managed at the moment. So that would be really interesting to know. But if they're advertising on Amazon and getting, or even if they're not, but if they're selling on Amazon, it's worth looking at, from a Google shopping point of view, trying to get the feed right, as Alex just said, and getting those targets in place. It could certainly work. I mean, broadly speaking, this is, again, it's a generalization. Businesses that are having some success on Amazon or even on eBay, there's a point at which they think, I'm not sure that I should keep on spending 15% of my sales revenue on Amazon. I need to move. How do I start to get a direct contact relationship with my customer and start to build up my profit margins? That's the point at which they start to explore Google Shopping and other channels as well. And we see that all the time.
Mm-hmm. And of course, GS1 GTINs can help to increase your visibility as well. Let's not forget that. So as Steve mentioned earlier on, that stat was actually from Google. So they have probably included that in their algorithm. They don't release any of that information, but they have said that because the GTIN is a trusted source to authenticate your product, they use that in their shopping, Google Shopping algorithm, and therefore that, the higher impressions you get, the more conversions you'll get. So don't forget to add your GTIN if you're listing on Google Shopping too. And for anybody who isn't currently a GS1 member, could Heather or Nikki put the offer in the chat? You get 20% discount on your first year's membership by quoting a special discount code, which we'll put in the chat shortly. Steve, I've got a question for you as well, following on from Anna's question. So how important is it for brands to match the social media platform they use or the advertising platform they use to their audience in terms of demographics and behavior? And how would they identify the best platform to use?
Okay, so as a general rule, so if you looked at the different platforms, take Meta, for example, the age skews are highest for Facebook, then the next one down is Instagram, and the next one down is TikTok, if you like. Obviously TikTok's not owned by Meta, so it's like age profiles. That's the first thing. Bear in mind that TikTok is typically a much lower cost. The other thing I would say is that there are it always depends on the product. So you could have certain products that are particularly useful to try and channel through Meta, but not so useful through TikTok. But because of the style, if you know, TikTok is very much an entertainment style of selling. So I think it does always depend on the product. But people should understand, everyone should understand, there are certain platforms that have got a very clear defined demographic, and I've mentioned TikTok and I've mentioned Instagram and I could mention Pinterest, but they are there, and you can see what you're getting for each of them. You can be quite clear. You wouldn't target a particular product that was aimed at older people necessarily, say on TikTok, and equally you wouldn't target a product that was aimed at much younger audience purely on Facebook. Okay, and what about Twitter? What's the effect of the new leadership having on advertising on Twitter? The simple answer is I don't know yet. The truthful answer, Twitter is I think it's a watch this space question for now. I mean, it's interesting, of all the other platforms that we use or don't use, some of the ones that are interesting that are out there on the outside that are quite effective, I would include things like Pinterest and Snapchat. I think they're there to be looked at as the examples. Someone's asked, where can I access the CPC spreadsheet? I'll try and pick that question up from Patrick.
Could we potentially share that in when we're sharing the recording of the?
Yeah. I think we've got a link to it. We can make sure that goes out so people can see it as a tool.
Okay. And we have another one from Abby, who asked, how accurate is the data that Facebook reports on? Is the purchase value it pulls through correct?
We're hesitating to answer that one because without seeing the data, we don't and how the data is how the campaigns are structured, and it's hard to answer. It's certainly a lot less accurate than it was 2 or 3 years ago. So it may mean that Abby reaches out to us and asks that question directly so we can have a look.
Okay.
I would add as well, it will be accurate. It will just be different data from what's showing in Google Analytics. So within Facebook, you can set different attribution windows. So you may have 7-day click, meaning if someone clicked 7 days ago, purchased on the 7th day, it will be attributed to Facebook as a conversion within Facebook. And 1-day view. So if someone's viewed an ad and then purchased on the same day, that will be attributed in Facebook. However, Google Analytics will show you last click. So if somebody's clicked 6 days ago on Facebook, but come and purchase through a Google search, that will be attributed to Google search organic, or whether it's a Google search ad within Google Analytics. So it's important to know what data you're looking at and the attribution windows you have set within the different platforms.
Thanks, Alex. That's a good from Tracy. So just about to renew. I'm getting a lot of interest from TikTok. The recent video viewed 37,000 has generated 2,400% in sales of one particular product. Well done, fantastic. I have the TikTok shop, but to date I've not uploaded products and simply directed people back to my website. If I start to upload products to the shop, what format is best to use to show them? I can't answer that question, but I know someone that within our team that can. So yeah, it's a really good question, Tracy. If you want to, contact us. I don't know that Alex can.
Yeah, Tracy, we certainly can help you with that one. We've got your contact details as a member, so we can get in touch with you and answer that after the webinar.
Yeah, it's a good question. Great to see you've had so much success. It's I've been doing this for 15 years. And obviously started off with Google, and along the time we had Facebook emerge as a platform. I've not seen anything take off like this. TikTok is enormous. It's absolutely really changed the landscape more than Facebook did when we all remember that Facebook became a thing. It's really taken off very quickly, and to be honest with you, it's probably I think it's a big problem for Facebook that they've got so much competition now from TikTok.
Yes, certainly. They've probably got their team looking at the next developments in order to compete with that, with different reels, video content.
They'll have to hurry up because they're potentially losing viewers quite quickly. So yeah, it's a big one.
We have a question from Suhao as well. Will my GS1 EAN code work on Amazon? Yes, it does work on Amazon. Our GTIN is a EAN, so it's a 13-digit number. So you can insert that in the EAN or UPC field. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think we have got through all of the questions today. Heather or Nikki, do you know if there are any other? We have one more come through.
Yeah, I was just going to say one more's just come through.
Okay. That's from Patrick again, Steve. Would you recommend going through a marketing agency or attempting to run the marketing campaigns internally initially? Most content can be redistributed through multi-channels, but the challenge is managing the channels across platforms. Now, as you're a marketing agency, I'm presuming you'll say, yes, definitely come to us, but what do you?
I wouldn't. I would say, you know, most good agencies should be able to give you some free advice anyway. So why not pick their brains and ask them? You know, go with a. I'm not going to promote our services. Go with a decent sized agency. We had this conversation before the webinar started. There's a lot of people out there that say they're social media experts, and then you realize it's one person and a dog. And you might think, oh, that's great, they're going to have low costs, but do they really know what they're talking about? Speak to an agency, they won't charge you, ask them what they think, ask them, you know, what they think, and they should be honest enough to say, well, wait till your budget is this big, or this isn't right for that channel. They should be able to tell you, because the last thing they need is a client that they can't make things work for easily. They need clients that they can help. They will advise you. Honestly, there are different platforms out there that can work for you.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Steve, as well. When I've used agencies in the past, it's just grab a coffee, have a 30-minute chat, and you know, just test it out, see if it works both ways.
No problem.
Thank you.
Well,
Oh, Patrick, you've got a lot of questions here. We've got one more. The new drop shipping is starting.
yeah, I know what he means. It's like I think I know what he means. He's saying that drop shipping. Oh, it's the new thing is starting a marketing agency. Yeah, okay. His point is that everyone's saying they're a marketing expert. Actually, I see a lot on TikTok, and I think, really, I don't think so. Really be careful. I think for everyone, be careful out there about, you know, who you work with. I'm not, you know, work with, but go with someone that you can really see their credentials. They've worked with lots of clients. They've got evidence of campaigns. And Tatiana's asked, I'm interested in your prices for services. Look, you know, we've got businesses where we've got business services where we have people working at like £500 a month fees. It's not always, you know, we've got a very big range of businesses, from very big down to very small, modest businesses, and many of which want to grow quickly. Elaine's asked, what meaningful minimum budget do you need for a meaningful campaign? It depends, Elaine, on which platform, but it's worth asking the question. Again, drop us an email, pick up, you know, we'll give you an idea, and then, you know, maybe it's a case for some people that they build up their sales on Amazon for a bit longer, or they build up elsewhere, and then they eventually build up a pot of money that they can test on marketing later on. But it'd be useful to know. It does depend on the type of product.
Would you suggest that it's also dependent upon how many competitors there are bidding for the same terms, keywords?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, if you're in a very competitive environment, you can sort of see that for yourself. But there's no harm in asking business like us, you know, for a quick piece of insight and advice. It's very easy to get that advice, and, you know, it's a pleasure to help people out. Don't like the idea of people getting either three things: either just not doing anything, or just secondly getting it wrong, trying to do it themselves and getting it wrong, and then people say, oh, you know, Google doesn't work, Amazon's advertising doesn't work. That's because it wasn't set up right. Get some free advice and then take it from there.
Thank you. And we have one more to say, what is a good return on advertising spend for Facebook campaign? This is from a recently launched brand.
That's a really good question, very specific. Alex, do you want to try and take that one? Again, it does depend. ROI can depend on the our return on advertising can depend again on the brand, but do you want to try and take that?
Yeah, I think we're saying it depends a lot, but it does actually depend. So it'll depend on the price of your product, what your conversion rate is on the site. What I know about Facebook is that it's at least 3 weeks of learning for a new campaign. So you can't expect massive results within 3 weeks. So I would say spend 3 weeks, stick with it, optimize your audiences and make changes where you see fit. But it really does depend on the price of your product, because the return is a function of the revenue you can drive from a given campaign. So if you're overspending for a low price product, then your ROAS will be low. But if you can be efficient and drive a high volume of low price products, then your ROAS will be higher. So again, it does really depend on the business.
Thank you. So we've come to the end of our session now. Thank you very much for everyone for attending. There will be a second session on the 7th of February. So please do sign up for that. We'll be in touch as well. If you've registered for this one, we'll share the next registration details with you. That will be guiding you through the sales funnel. So this will be about Steve, is it about conversions or retention?
It's more about getting into the detail of those channels that we talked about and actually how you make things work, getting much more into like your Instagrams, your Facebooks, your Pinterest, TikTok, how you really make it work in those channels. So it's about moving from awareness to interest and desire, if you like. So how you start nurturing all of those to build up success.
Brilliant. So a lot of the questions that we've had during this webinar will probably be answered in the next one as well. So definitely stay tuned for that one. Then we have a third and final webinar, which is going to be focusing on site conversions. So that's the bottom of the sales funnel. How do you maximize those conversions once you get people onto your site?
Super.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time. We'll be sending an email with the recording and the presentation to everybody who's signed up for the webinar. Be in touch shortly.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you very much.